Deep in the barren desert of Nevada, about 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas, lies a blank space on the map. For decades, the United States government pretended it didn't even exist. If you try to drive there, you'll be met by heavily armed guards in unmarked trucks, motion sensors hidden in the cactus, and signs warning that you could be shot on sight.
This is Area 51. Officially, it's just a military testing facility. Unofficially, it is the epicenter of the world's greatest conspiracy theories. Aliens, reverse-engineered spaceships, secret time travel technology. But what is actually happening behind those heavily guarded borders? Today, we are stripping away the myths, digging through recently declassified documents, and revealing the true, mind-blowing secrets of the base nobody could explain.
To understand why Area 51 exists, we need to travel back to 1955. The Cold War was reaching dangerous new heights. The United States and the Soviet Union stood locked in a global struggle unlike anything the world had ever seen. Both nations possessed nuclear weapons capable of destroying entire cities in minutes. Neither side trusted the other, and both feared a surprise attack. American intelligence agencies faced a terrifying problem. The Soviet Union was largely a mystery. Military bases were hidden, missile programs were secret, nuclear facilities were protected behind an iron curtain of secrecy. The United States desperately needed information. Without it, America had no way of knowing whether the Soviets were preparing for war. The CIA needed eyes inside Soviet territory. But obtaining those eyes would require an aircraft unlike anything that existed.
If this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications.
Aviation genius Kelly Johnson was the head of Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works division, responsible for designing some of the most revolutionary aircraft in history. Working alongside the CIA, Johnson developed a remarkable machine known as the U-2 spy plane. The aircraft seemed almost impossible. Its long, glider-like wings allowed it to fly above 70,000 feet, far higher than commercial airliners and beyond the reach of most military defenses of the era. From that altitude, powerful cameras could photograph missile bases, airfields, factories, and military installations hundreds of miles away. For the first time, the United States would be able to look directly into the Soviet Union. But before the U-2 could gather intelligence, it had to be tested. And testing such a revolutionary aircraft presented a serious challenge. If Soviet agents discovered the project, years of research could be compromised. The CIA needed somewhere isolated, somewhere hidden, somewhere nobody would ask questions. After searching across the American Southwest, officials discovered a remote dry lake bed called Groom Lake. Located deep within the Nevada desert, the area was surrounded by mountains and miles of empty wilderness. To intelligence officials, it was perfect. Construction began almost immediately. Airstrips appeared, temporary buildings were erected, hangars rose from the desert floor, and a secret base was born. Interestingly, Kelly Johnson knew convincing workers to relocate to this harsh desert environment would be difficult. Summer temperatures regularly exceeded 100 degrees Fahrenheit. To make the assignment sound more appealing, Johnson jokingly nicknamed the facility Paradise Ranch.
The name stuck for a while, but inside government documents, another designation appeared: Area 51, a simple label on a military grid map. As testing began, strange sightings soon followed. The U-2 was unlike any aircraft ordinary people had ever seen. During the 1950s, commercial airliners typically flew between 10,000 and 20,000 feet. Even military jets rarely exceeded 40,000 feet. The U-2 operated almost twice as high. At sunset, when the ground below was already dark, the U-2 remained illuminated by sunlight high above the Earth. Pilots flying commercial routes frequently spotted bright metallic objects moving silently across the sky. Air traffic controllers received reports. Military personnel received reports. Newspapers received reports. The descriptions were often the same: silver objects, unusual lights, impossible altitudes, extraordinary speeds. To the public, there was only one explanation: UFOs.
Unknown to those witnesses, many of the sightings were actually secret U.S. aircraft being tested over Area 51. Decades later, declassified CIA documents revealed a stunning fact. A significant percentage of UFO reports during the late 1950s and 1960s were linked to classified aircraft programs. The government knew exactly what people were seeing.
But revealing the truth would expose some of America's most sensitive military projects, so officials remained silent. And the rumors grew. Over time, Area 51 became more than a military base. It became a legend. Yet the biggest explosion of interest was still decades away.
In 1989, a man named Bob Lazar stepped in front of television cameras and made claims that would transform Area 51 forever. According to Lazar, he had worked at a secret installation known as S4, located near Area 51. His mission, he said, was unlike anything imaginable. He claimed he had been tasked with reverse engineering alien spacecraft. Lazar described 9 flying saucers hidden inside mountain hangars.
The interview spread rapidly. He claimed the technology was powered by a mysterious substance known as Element 115. Most astonishingly, he suggested the U.S. government possessed extraterrestrial technology that was decades or even centuries ahead of anything publicly known. The interview spread rapidly. For believers, Lazar was the ultimate whistleblower. For skeptics, he was a talented storyteller. Investigators found inconsistencies in his background.
Yet despite decades of scrutiny, Lazar's story remains one of the most debated mysteries in modern history. And whether true or false, it permanently linked Area 51 with aliens in the public imagination. But while the world focused on flying saucers, something equally remarkable was happening behind the scenes. Area 51 was becoming one of the most important centers of aerospace innovation in human history. This was where engineers developed revolutionary stealth technology. This was where experimental aircraft pushed the boundaries of physics and where America's most secret military projects took shape. One of the most fascinating examples was a program known as Have Donut. During the Cold War, the United States secretly obtained Soviet-made MiG fighter jets through defectors, intelligence operations, and covert deals. The aircraft were transported to Area 51 under extreme secrecy. Today, Area 51 remains active. Despite decades of investigations and countless attempts to uncover its secrets, much of what happens inside the base remains hidden from public view. New satellite imagery reveals new hangars, new runways, and new construction projects. But what exactly is happening there remains classified. Experts believe Area 51 is currently testing next-generation spy drones, hypersonic aircraft that fly at 6 times the speed of sound, and capable of remaining airborne for days or even weeks while collecting intelligence across vast regions of the world. There are also growing theories that Area 51 may be helping shape a new era of artificial intelligence-powered combat systems. Future fighter jets may not require a human pilot inside the cockpit at all. Instead, advanced AI could control aircraft, make split-second decisions, coordinate with drone swarms, and react faster than any human ever could. Then, in 2013, something extraordinary happened. After nearly 6 decades of secrecy, denials, and speculation, the CIA finally released declassified documents officially acknowledging that Area 51 is real. Buried within hundreds of pages detailing Cold War intelligence operations was a stunning admission. The documents confirmed what aviation historians had suspected for decades. The remote base at Groom Lake had served as a testing ground for some of America's most advanced aircraft, including the revolutionary U-2 spy plane and later the A-12 reconnaissance aircraft. But a closer look revealed something interesting. The CIA wasn't revealing current secrets, it was revealing old ones. In other words, the government wasn't showing the public what Area 51 was doing. It was showing the public what Area 51 had been doing half a century ago. Because if the base was developing technology that seemed impossible in the 1950s, what might it be developing today? The truth is that the CIA's 2013 admission answered one question while creating another. Area 51 started as a secret testing ground to protect a nation during the Cold War. But by locking its gates so tightly, the government created a void. And and human imagination filled that void with aliens, spaceships, and mysteries. Perhaps the greatest secret of Area 51 isn't what is hidden inside those hangars, but rather how a simple military base managed to keep the entire world guessing for nearly a century. And as long as those gates remain closed, we will keep looking up at the Nevada night sky, wondering what is truly out there.
I have had reason to be present at Area 51, but I'm not going to clarify whether or not I was there as an employee.
Are you saying you were there as a visitor?
I'm not going to specify why or in what capacity I was there, only that I was there.
Can you tell us how many times you were there?
When I agreed to this, my fundamental ground rule was that I would not be asked to divulge personal data that might help pinpoint my identity. If you continue to ask questions that are out of bounds, I won't hesitate to terminate this interview.
Are you saying that the number of times you were present at Area 51 is enough to pinpoint your identity?
Any specifics will narrow the field of suspects. Of course, I could lie. Let's say I've been there 47 times, or anyway more than once.
Let's turn to the tape itself. The copy you've supplied is not the original tape.
No,
Was the original at Area 51 when you copied it?
that's out of bounds.